you for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, so tell us, what is this election about?
Well, I think this election is about continuing to make Virginia a better place for everyone, no matter your zip code, no matter the color of your skin, the God you pray to, who you love, making sure that each and every person that calls Virginia home can take advantage of the opportunities that are before us.
And so what are the specific issues in that, in making Virginia a better
So for
place?
me personally, it all starts with education. I think, you know, here in Richmond, we have too many of our neighbors living at or below the poverty line, and having a good, high-quality education system means that folks can then make their lives better, help their families, you know, progress. And so making sure that our teachers are paid at or above the national average, making sure that we continue to disrupt the school-to-prison pipeline so we don't exacerbate the problems that come out of undereducating folks.
Well, and is it a question of resources? Like, what is stopping progress? It sounds great. I mean, everybody would support that, but what is, when you get down to the nitty-gritty, is it the fact that there's simply not enough money coming to the schools? That, for example, you're a former school board member in Richmond, so you know firsthand budgetary concerns.
I do.
What is it a question of?
So I think a big part of it is resources. We had a recession back in 2008, and we're still climbing our way out of that from an education investment standpoint. Just a couple years ago, we had just gotten back to those levels from 2008, 2009. But it's also, you know, how do we strengthen our neighborhoods? How do we make sure that our communities are safe and that they're thriving and healthy? Because, you know, kids don't need to come to school with more baggage than their books in their backpack, and unfortunately we're still facing those types of issues all across the Commonwealth.
And on your website you mentioned housing as another issue. We've got the big Navy Hill plan proposed by the mayor. It says it's going to have 480 units for affordable housing, but specifically only 80 are actually being built now by the developer if it gets passed. And so the question is, where are the incentives to build affordable housing? Because that goes hand in hand with what you're talking about.
You're absolutely right. And that's one of the things that we've been working hard on, and we made some good progress this last year, is affordable housing and eviction issues that we face here in Virginia. And so you have a two-part problem, and I'm an economics major, and so you have a supply problem and you have a demand problem. We have a great demand for good quality affordable housing, but the demand just isn't there. So we've got to continue the supply side. We've got to continue to incentivize the development and think about ways to perhaps tweak and change the low-income tax credit, which incentivizes developers to create those units. And so we'll be looking at those types of solutions as we go back to the General Assembly in January.
And a lot's been made of the commission meeting in these last 2 days to talk about some of the gun bills that, or some of the proposals that we thought we were going to see in the rather shortened special session. What's the progress there? What's your take on some of those, some of the gun issues to stop the gun violence?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, we've done a lot of good work in the General Assembly over the last several years. The one place where I think we have really just shirked our responsibility is not addressing gun violence. We continue to see gun violence, whether it be murders, homicides, or just shootings, tick up in Richmond, especially over the last month or so. And there have been a lot of common sense proposals that have been put forward, and unfortunately some of them, many of them, have not even gotten heard in a committee. And so as we work through this process, through the Crime Commission, wait on them to make a recommendation and come back coincidentally after the elections, my hope is that the 99 other people that serve in the House of Delegates and the State Senate will do something meaningful on gun violence.
Now, we're more than 8 months out from the scandal that erupted when a blackface photo appeared or was discovered in the yearbook of Governor Northam. At the time, you said it's beyond repair. He is now essentially leading Virginia into this election season. Is he damaged beyond repair at this point? What is your take on the fact that he's still there? You
know, I think history will tell us whether or not he's been damaged beyond repair. I think, you know, those actions, that history, they did cause a lot of hurt and pain. And so what I and my colleagues in the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus has said are we want to address the issues, right? We've moved on beyond that from talking about it each and every day. We want to focus on the fact that we still have too large of education gaps. We still have too many people living at or below poverty line. We still have too many of our constituents being affected by gun violence. And so we want to work to bring more equity, and that's what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the solutions so that we really can move Virginia to that place where everybody can take advantage of all that it has to offer.
Delegate Jeff Bourne, we appreciate you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much, Bill, for having me.
And a reminder, we've invited all the candidates on here at CBS 6 News at 7. All these interviews will be posted to WTVR.com once they're all in. Let's